What's up, guys? I had absolutely no intention of making this video, but here we are. So you guys know I spend a whole bunch of time in the shop. And while I'm in the shop, my honeydew list continues to grow. Last year when my wife and I found out that we were gonna have our baby, she went into nesting mode. Now our house is 4 years old, but she decided it needed an upgrade apparently. So while I was outside in the shop, she took it upon herself to start tearing up flooring, taking down trim and all that stuff. So now here we are, redoing a 4-year-old house. Most of it's back together, but there was one thing that I really wanted. That was epoxy concrete floors. I didn't get my wish in the whole house, but I did get the foyer and the laundry room. So now we're in the foyer. And like I said, I had no intention of making this video, so you can probably tell I've already started working on it. I patched up some cracks that were in the concrete, and I've actually started prepping most of the concrete with the grinder. So I decided to make this video. So I'm gonna get back to work now, but I'm gonna let you guys watch. I'm gonna go ahead and prep the rest of this concrete with a grinder, and then I'll show you guys what we did and why. Guys, well, you can see it's all ground down all the way around, and then came back in and added in a little more filler to some places that I found while I ground it down. Some little cracks and some little just kind of chips in the concrete that needed to be filled. So this stuff right here, this is Rust-Oleum concrete crack repair. So we repaired that entire crack with it, and now we've kind of put this stuff over the top. So once this sits for about an hour, I can come in and put the second coat on places that need it, like right there, and then right there, and then right there. So come in with a second coat, put it on that, and then that'll bring everything up to where it needs to be. So in the meantime, what I can do is bring in a rag and some water, stuff like that, and wipe down the trim, wipe down the walls, and make sure that I get all of the dust out of here, because this stuff right here, I'm probably not gonna sand it again. I'll have to look. I don't think I have to. I think that like once it's kind of, after about an hour, you can go ahead and epoxy over it. And if everything goes well, I may go ahead and start trying to put down some epoxy tonight. It shouldn't take me that long because this is a pretty small space, but I kind of want to try it, and I'm not very patient. So we're gonna see. I'm gonna do a little bit of research. Like I said, I think this stuff can sit for an hour, get the second coat, and then sit for another hour, and then I can epoxy over the top of it, because if I'm not mistaken, that's pretty much what this is epoxy. So that should work pretty well, but I'm gonna give it a little bit. I'm gonna go ahead, get a rag, get all this stuff wiped down so we can eliminate as much dust in here as possible. And then once we do all of that, we're gonna take down our sheet, and that way we don't have any trapped dust or anything. So we don't wanna get any trash in this epoxy. So that's what I'm gonna do now. And then we'll play it by ear on what we do next. All right, well, the foyer is cleaned. Concrete is completely prepped, and we have everything taped off that we don't want epoxy on. So now the only thing left is to mix up and actually apply some epoxy. And I'm not gonna lie to you, I've never done this before, so I'm a little bit nervous now. But the only thing to do now is to just do it. We're already here, done all the prep work, bought all the material, may as well just go ahead and get on it. So we got all of our epoxy here. We're gonna start with our white base. I've got some other colors that are gonna go in it, but we gotta start with our white base first. We're gonna go ahead, get it mixed up. We're gonna go ahead and get some in there on the concrete and see how it does. Like I said, never done this before, so I don't know how this stuff's gonna work, but only thing there is to do it. Okay, so we have the white epoxy down, and that actually really wasn't too bad once I kind of figured out the flow of things and being able to spread it out and then get it rolled out and all of that good stuff. So that is looking really good. Pretty happy with it, nice and slick. But the next thing we need to add in is our accent colors, which I started watching some guys online kind of after I finished the white in there, and they actually put down everything together. So I'm not going to wait for that to dry before I do the accent color. So I've got some clear epoxy here and then several pigments that I'm going to mix that actually match the hardwood flooring that I put down inside. So it brings everything kind of together, ties everything together. So I'm going to mix up a bunch of clear. I say a bunch of clear, a little bit of clear. And then that way I can go ahead and get those pigments put in there and get my accent colors down. And I can go ahead and mix all that stuff in, put down my alcohol. That way it can sit for a couple of days, and then I'll scuff it and we'll put our gloss clear top coat. So it's about to start coming together, and I'm pretty excited to see how it looks. But we got to mix some clear. So without further ado, let's lay some accent. Here is the epoxy the next day, but what this clip doesn't show you is that I screwed up. So apparently I don't know what I'm doing whenever it says to mist alcohol on top of this to pop all the bubbles. So I did, and I ended up with a bunch of fisheyes. Did a little bit of research, and apparently alcohol can cause fisheyes, but it can also help pop the bubbles. So you have to use it, but you can't use it wrong, because then you end up with fisheyes. So really dumb situation. So here I am sanding this stuff back down with 80 grit. I didn't like the pattern that happened anyway. It was supposed to be mostly white, ended up with a lot of gray, not enough brown, and it pretty much looked like one color and looked like bare concrete. So I really didn't like it. So here we are redoing it. So sanding it down with 80 grit, I've got all these little fisheyes. You see all these little white specks down in here? Those are fisheyes that pretty much go all the way through the base color. And so what you're supposed to do, sand all this flat with 80 grit, mix up a little bit of epoxy, put in all of those holes, let it sit for 24 hours, sand it, and then you can top coat everything. On the bright side, I guess we have a really thick primer coat on the concrete, so we don't have to worry about the concrete outgassing through our epoxy again, because we have epoxy that's already hardened. So I've got almost all of this sanded. I did not film the first part of it because I was kind of in a little bit of freak out mode trying to figure out how I could fix where all this went wrong. But I have most of it sanded now. I've got about a quarter of it. So I'm gonna finish that with a DA, with 80 grit, get that sanded down, and then that way we can go ahead and mix up just a little bit of epoxy to go ahead and get all these holes taken care of. And then we'll sand it back down tomorrow and put some more epoxy on it. And hopefully, it works out this time. Took a couple of days, but I have everything sanded down and patched with 80 grit, and it's ready for the second coat of epoxy. All those little divots that were in there, I filled in with clear epoxy and then just sanded it all flat. So everything should be good now. Should be rough enough that everything will stick, and hopefully things go a little bit better this time. This is, I'm not doing it a third time. The second time better work. If not, we'll just have to figure it out. But anyway, we'll go ahead and put down some white, and we'll mix up our accent colors and hope things go better. got the epoxy laid down and got the pattern that we like, but we tried the alcohol trick again, and now we've got a bunch of fisheyes again. Did a little bit more research, and I think I figured out how I can fix it and salvage it, maybe. We're gonna use the heat gun. I'm gonna take the roller and kind of like rub over those fisheyes. Hopefully that works. If it don't, then I don't know what else to do. This is kind of a last ditch effort and hoping that I can save all of this, because I really do like this, but we gotta see how that works out. So that's what I'm gonna try next, and I guess we'll just go from there. Alright, well, it's been a few days. I've been at work, but we have kind of got the pattern that we like. Couple little issues, but not that big of a deal, because we do have to sand this thing down one more time to be able to hit it with the clear coat, that top coat, and completely wrap up this project. So I went ahead and kind of started sanding just a little bit. I started a little bit by hand with 180 just to see how it was going to sand. And honestly, this seems to sand a lot easier than it did before, even though I'm using 180 instead of 80. So it's sanding pretty good. Went ahead and took the DA, kind of put on a little bit. So this is going to go really, really fast. Go ahead and get all this sanded completely down. Knock down all the trash, all the little high spots and stuff like that. Pretty much to scuff it so the clear can stick. So that's all we really have left. Just sand it one more time, mix up our clear, get that on, and then we'll be wrapping this up. And also, I think I figured out, if I haven't mentioned yet, why we had the little fisheye issues as well as the white speck issues, which I'll tell you guys about in a few minutes. But in the meantime, let's go ahead and get it sanded and lay down some clear. Alrighty guys, so we got our epoxy floor knocked out in the foyer. I have a few takeaways. So there are about 3 things that I wish I had known before I tackled this project. Number 1 is the obvious one. It's extremely time consuming and it's a whole bunch of work. It's extremely physically demanding, because obviously I spent a whole bunch of time on my knees with a grinder, grinding that concrete to open up those pores so that that epoxy would stick. Obviously, if you were doing a little bit bigger space, you could rent one of those stand-behind grinders, and that would take a lot of the work off of you. And then it wouldn't be near as bad. Number 2, the color coat and the accent colors go a lot further than you would think. And nobody talks about that. Not that I've seen in any videos anyway. Obviously, that's the thing that royally messed me up on the first time we attempted this. I put too much accent color in there, stirred it around, it ended up mixing all up and just turned gray. So that stuff goes way further than you would expect. So we did much better the second go round. And then number 3, the thing that messed us up the most was the alcohol application for popping the bubbles. So after we messed it up the first time and ended up with a bunch of fisheyes that gave us just a bad product, which also happened in the second time and gave us those little white specks that was a happy mistake that ends up adding a little bit of character, and it worked out. I did some research on why that happened, and apparently epoxy really does not like the water content in alcohol. So it's recommended to use a 91% or higher alcohol, and I bought 91. That's what was readily available here. So that's what I bought, and I thought the whole time that it was messing up because the water content was too high, and maybe because I bought the lower end of that recommendation, that was what was causing all of that, but it was the way I was applying it. So nobody really gives you the whole rundown on how you should apply that. They just tell you, oh, you've got to mist it over the top. Don't use big drops, use little drops. I don't know about y'all, but I assumed that meant just kind of standing up, spraying it, backing up. But apparently not. I didn't know what else to do, so I started talking to ChatGPT, and it pointed me in the right direction. So you can use the 91% alcohol without issues, but you have to apply it approximately 8 to 12 inches above the surface. So you're definitely going to get more of that alcohol on there than I thought that you would, the way that everybody else explained it. You're pretty much going to cover the entire surface rather than just rain it down on it. You're pretty much going to wet the top of the surface. And as you can see, that worked out fantastic for me. So we got about a $3,500 quote to get the laundry room and our foyer done, but I bought all the material to do both for under $1,000. But then obviously I messed up the foyer and used half of my material. So I wasted like $500 worth of material, but it's a $500 lesson learned, which will also save me a lot of money in the future because we do have other projects that we're wanting to do. Like we're wanting to make over our garage. We're going to be building another shop eventually to store our cars in. And I want to kind of do the same thing because it just gives it that really nice showroom look. And I like that a lot. If you guys are thinking about giving this a shot, I did link every tool that I used down in the description. So if you need the tools to get it done and you purchase through that link, we do make a little bit of a commission and it helps support the channel. So that would really be appreciated. Or if you don't need tools, we have some cool merch and that's linked down there too. But with all of that said, I have now checked that off my honey-do list and my wife has given me her blessing to return to the shop to my toys so we can get back to the builds. So if you guys enjoyed this video, make sure you check out that one right there because YouTube thinks it's gonna be the best thing for you to watch next, and hit that subscribe button because we are getting back to the man project. As always, I appreciate you guys tuning in. We'll catch you on the next one. Deuces.